Square. And usually people get pissed off when there's not a Sunday show. So there's going to be some saying related to that. How are you, Charles?
I'm great. Thanks for asking, Jason. I hope you're well. I've left Malaysia. I'm in an undisclosed location.
Looks fancy.
Not in Malaysia, but still in Southeast Asia. I have to say that the biggest contrast that I see between where I am out here and New York City is that the only annoying thing is how nice people are here. And I mean, in New York City, I'm accustomed to when I walk out the front door, and I live in a good neighborhood, as you, walk out the front door of my apartment building, what fresh hell am I going to see as I open the front door? You know, what stack of garbage, what filth, what collection of thugs, and how many times during the day am I going to be pestered for money? That's my life in New York City. And how close are we going to come to getting, run over by one of those stupid scooters or
Yeah.
idiots on, texting while driving or whatever. And out here, it's really, I think I was saying to you privately, and I'll say publicly, it's almost as if you're in California in 1946, 1950, as the American economy shifts into robust post-World War II high gear. The difference being that the people out here didn't have to, today don't have to wait 80 years for technology to give them amazing tools to leapfrog over the infrastructure in, the wired portion of the world. And as such, the people I meet anyway, and I'm not meeting the super destitute people, but the people I meet going out are positive, engaged in projects to lift up their families, hopeful for their futures, not at all drawn into these petty bullshit, Soros-backed, Obama-led quarrels that are trying to destroy the greatest country in the Western world.
Speaking
So
of
yeah, this
quarrels,
story,
Charles,
I mean,
people are upset about this. This is really picking up traction even today. This is, five migrants assaulted two police officers in Times Square. Remember we saw that McDonald's has been converted into housing. First of all, that's absurd. I mean, I don't know if you've been in that McDonald's. It was a pretty big McDonald's, but I mean, how many public bathrooms would even the biggest McDonald's have? And if you're going to start putting dozens of people living in there, it just doesn't seem like these are normal conditions to cause people to live in. I mean, this is just a powder keg. And if somebody's going to kick a police officer in the head, I think that should be attempted murder.
well, backing up to the great work of the art department, I mean, we are on the Biden train wreck from hell. I mean, this is really, it's unfair to just blame the Biden family. It's also the Obamas, the Clintons, the Bushes, the McConnells, these dynastic political families, and that knucklehead Kamala Harris, who's absurdly trying to claim that she's not getting enough credit
For
for
what?
the great work that she's been doing when she's not out shopping for pots and pans in Paris. I
She
mean,
wants credit for destroying the country? I mean, that's absurd. What a dummy.
I know. So, well, Bob Bishop, our great friend down there in the great and perhaps independent country of Texas, soon if they keep this shit up, had a great piece a number of days ago, maybe weeks ago now, exposing the various charities, and there are many of them, supposed charities that are involved in financing the invasion of criminal elements across our country. And I wouldn't just discipline at this point. There's this principle in the law that is untested, but they try it from time to time. They attack parents for the crimes of their minor children. And I'm not saying that that's a good idea necessarily, but in the case of this migrant invasion, I don't think we should just be disciplining the thugs. I think we should take these however many thugs were beating up the police officers. For every one thug involved with that, let's shut down 100 of these charities that are encouraging this bullshit, and let's impeach not Mayorkas, but all of the Obama Biden appointees who are promoting this invasion strategy, including Bob has another story about some woman who's at the UN, who used to be at the Obama. So I think her name is Mike. What was it, Bishop, or is her name, or is it the title of the article? It got into Zero Hedge yesterday. It was Meet Somebody.
Right.
And she's the person who is centrally involved with the UN, coordinating the elimination of borders around the world. Who does this bitch think she is? She is. Yeah. You know, who gave her the right to suddenly say, "Oh, these national governments, they don't matter anymore. I'm just going to pull strings using probably donor money and other money, and I'm just going to destroy the existing system of governance so that I can sit on top of an unelected bureaucracy and enrich myself and my family with just plain stupid-ass ideas." I mean, this woman deserves, I don't wish her physical harm. She and her family deserve to be carjacked by these assholes.
I got to ask you a question, though, about this, Charles. We don't want any crimes to happen to this lady, but I think what you're saying is when someone in the government allows so many criminals into the country, it's possible that they're not going to realize the error of their ways until they are personally touched by crime. I hope that doesn't happen to this lady, but I want to ask you something, Charles. If you walked into the highest powered business meeting you've ever been in, I mean, this woman is making decisions that affect every single person, every single business, every industry in the United States. This lady looks to me like she should be in charge of like a bake sale at the 5th grade, not who gets to come into the country. I mean, who is this idiot? Everybody in the Barack Obama administration looks like they're 30 and stupid, or 80 and, senile.
Right. Well, it's to me, it evokes these ads, and thankfully I don't watch TV of any kind. I haven't since June 30th of last year. But you used to see all these ads, and it typically was and I've got nothing against young kids. I was a young kid once, and they're full of energy and enthusiasm. Sometimes they come up with good ideas. But there are these ads, you probably never thought about home security. I'm an idiot. I barely graduated from some cowpoke college, aping the opinions of my teachers. And I decided I'm going to create a new company that's going to provide home security. As if ADT, and many other firms haven't been doing that for over a century. And so you have all these bright young things coming up with stupid ideas. And this is a person, this Pope person, looking at her resume, who was somebody who should have been told, listen to me, stick to crochet. Okay? Forget about business, make some nice needlepoint cushions, take care of your family, but you're not going to remake the world in your fucking crazy image and start encouraging all kinds of people who have never been vetted. I mean, the biggest atrocity here of this Mayorkas, Biden, and Obama program to destroy the country is it relies on an obvious falsehood. The countries, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. The countries from whom these people are coming, many of them in Central America in particular, have no fucking idea who lives inside their own country. They don't have systems to keep track of people. And unlike the United States, where there is a proliferation of names because it's a melting pot, in some of these countries, I'm making this up now, but 20% of the men are Juan Valdez. I mean, the same name.
Charles, let me ask you something real quick.
Wait, really know who they are.
Before we go on too much of a tear, there's some stuff we have to talk about with this because there's interesting comments coming in, Charles. So this woman is the head of the International Organization for Migration, right? This is a UN thing in Geneva, Switzerland. And people are saying that, I think this makes sense, that we're getting all this news about the migrants beating up the police because this is going to be used to get more money for the police, not to stop the migrants from coming in. Because really what should happen, you and I have been speaking for years about how we're days away from some sort of criminal activity happening with these guys. We're seeing it there with the cops. That should be something that would trigger sensible people to say, well, now wait a minute. If these people are so psychopathic that they will attack, first of all, 2 guys that have weapons on them, and are uniformed police officers, they obviously pose a considerable threat to unarmed civilians. But if they really wanted to do anything, why not just go right over to the UN and start investigating this IOM? It's one thing to deport 4 guys, but what they should really be doing is shutting this down and saying, hey, wait a minute. It's not about sending more money to Eric Adams and, as you say, more resources. The mayor of Denver is asking for more resources. That makes me think that these guys have some kind of plan where some of that money is going to go to some kind of company to provide additional security or maybe new equipment or whatever. And then whoever runs the company that's going to provide all that wonderful stuff, maybe they have a job for Eric Adams' brother-in-law or nephew or something like that. Seems to be like what's going on. Because if they actually wanted to stop it, somebody would go over to this IOM today and start auditing them and figuring out what they're benefiting, how they benefit from bringing all these people into the United States.
Well, again, I think, in terms of solving this problem can only be solved by, at this stage, Donald Trump winning not only the presidency, but winning commanding majorities in the House and the Senate. With that, you then have to, let's be honest, the UN is a very disgraceful, I would argue, criminal organization that allows a bunch of incompetent people to fly around the world and pretend they're important and enrich their families. The employees of the UN do not pay taxes of any kind, so they're overpaid. They're doing damaging work. We're now finding what we all suspected, that the UN may have been centrally involved in the October 7th mess. The UN administers portions of Gaza. You can't, if you look at the track record of the UN is perhaps more damaging than the track record of the cartels.
Yeah, they're good at raping people.
It's a disgrace. And we need to stop pretending that in this day of wired connectivity and the ability to learn so quickly over the internet, that we really need bureaucracies. We don't. People have tools today where they can do for themselves far more and far quickly and more efficiently than any self-sainted group of do-gooders can say they're doing for them around the world. The UN needs to be shut down. The WHO needs to be shut down. Many of these multilateral organizations need to be shut down. The EU needs to be shut down. The G8 needs to be shut down. So too the G20. All these bullshit organizations that pay McKinsey and other consulting and investment firms lots of money. All this shit needs to go, and people need to return to the protection of their the enrichment of themselves. But I'm not saying just financially, but personally, the protection of their own families, the good order of their own villages, towns, and cities. And if you need states, I guess states inside the United States. But the focus needs to go inward. And these people who want to fly in from Davos and tell you, you're going to wash down some crickets, some dead cockroaches with some toilet bowl water, they need to go to the loony bin.
Yeah.
And they certainly don't need the protection of tax exemption or, in the case of the UN, freedom from all taxes. It's just bullshit, and it's proven bullshit. And as for New York City and state, vote with your feet. Get the fuck out of there. Not just because I'm doing it. I mean,
Wait a second.
It is not a place. It is not a place that can easily be fixed. And you see this clearly. Look at the tax system, the crime rates, and the financial incentives for investment in New York City, and compare those to Dubai, to Singapore. I can name other places. And the contrast is stunning. I mean, New York City and state and Biden are stuck on fucking stupid and criminal. Singapore, on the other hand, is a thriving place where you could buy a beautiful apartment in Singapore for roughly, depending on how I'm not talking about super penthouses and stuff, but for probably a third of what it would cost in Manhattan.
Let me take you back to New York for a second, Charles, because I have a question, and maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. So if Trump wins, or any president, could somebody just say, you know what, UN, GTFO, we are revoking, how can we just kick it out and get this land back?
Well,
make it illegal.
There's a provision. We got into this actually a while back, years ago. There is actually a provision where I believe the U.S. president can decide that it is no longer fitting for the United States to offer protection to a multinational jurisdiction. I can't read that, but there are provisions that allow the United States to cease providing support for institutions that have gone rogue, such as the UN. My attitude is, if the UN wants to engage in these do-gooder projects, why don't we find a place in the Central African Empire or some godforsaken poor place on earth? And all you fucking idiots who want to, design these globalist plans, you can set up a place. You're going to live like the locals. You're not going to build palaces for yourselves at our expense. You go out into these poor countries you want to help and fucking help them. But don't do so from the most expensive places on earth, from presidential suites and private planes and drinking champagne and eating caviar. Don't you dare waste any more time on toilet bowl water and cockroach eating projects, to eliminate agriculture so that we can destroy our energy. I mean, these people, John Kerry and others are, they make fools look smart. They're dangerous, simpleton, coddled fools.
Speaking of John Kerry, big news. Another John is replacing him as the climate czar, John Podesta. Did you hear that? It just happened like a few minutes ago.
It's transparently stupid. I mean, the Podesta brothers are criminals, right?
Yeah.
Where are the Podesta WikiLeaks? Why are those buried?
Deleted.
I don't know if they're deleted. Are they down?
You can't get it from WikiLeaks. You can't get it.
I mean, why is that? Why is it because they're so good and they tell such great tales, of success? No, I went through them as they came out and participated in multiple media, whether print or radio or whatever, podcasting discussions as they came out in 2016 and afterwards. This is evidence of massive criminal behavior straddling Republicans, Democrats, in particular, John Podesta. So now you're going to promote this fuck? I mean, I can't believe it. And what about Tony Podesta? Whatever happened to the investigation of him?
What about the investigation of Joe Biden's documents in the Corvette? They just sort of gave up on that.
Right. And now Joe Biden was criticizing the sitting president, I read on his.
Isn't he the sitting president?
I know.
Tony Podesta just sold his D.C. home for $8.2 million, Charles. Powerhouse lobbyist.
What?
Tony Podesta just sold his D.C. home for $8.2 million.
It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. The Tony Podesta's wife, got so high and mighty, she kind of got Steve Bannon disease, and she made the mistake of either sending out an invitation or boasting that she and her husband actually ran the world, not Barack Obama. That didn't sit so well with Barack Obama.
Here, the Justice Department ended an investigation of Tony Podesta and Vin Weber without charges in 2019.
I know. That's another department that's out of control. Justice Department.
That's high.
Well, the Justice Department has too much discretion to decide not to prosecute or to prosecute people, and there's no accountability. And you go in there, you get to a high level, and you can waltz right out and get a huge multi-million-dollar partnership in any one of a number of deep state law firms. So that Justice Department, again, it's only going to change this time, perhaps, if Trump drafts the correct team to go in there and with a strategy that can be put into place at noon on January 20th, 2025. None of this, I need a week, none of this inaugural ball bullshit. I would argue maybe even delay your speech. He didn't show up for his exit speech, for the arrival of Biden. Why don't you just say, if he wins, no inaugural balls, we're not going to party until we've accomplished stuff. In the first 100 days, we got a lot of rot to take out of the system. So, I'll talk to you about my plans in March of 2025. But, we're just going to get right to work. And I would have, orders drafted. Obviously, they couldn't be on government paper until the 20th January 2025, but I would have stuff ready to go, and I would be shutting down. I would be rescinding every executive order of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, every single one, whole thing, and I would have, I don't know what the crunch points are. I've never tried to run anything in government, so I've got no idea. But I would have people who knew the precise steps that need to be taken, and I would just be taking chainsaws to this deep state. And I wouldn't just be saying, oh, it's an Irish compromise. Bush did something bad and Obama did something. No, the Bush criminals go to prison. The Obama criminals, the Clinton criminals, all of them. If there were people in the Trump administration who were bad, they go. And that's what the American people and the world wants to see now. I mean, our government is out of control.
The good thing is all the prosecution of Trump is already out of the way. So whatever they're going to try to get him for, he's free to just prosecute everybody in D.C. Anything that he's done, they seem like they would have found by now.
Well, and the thing that's interesting, I saw this Business Insider. That's something that needs to be shut down. We saw what they did against Ackman, and now what they're trying to do with Trump. They're trying to say that there's a new report, and in a footnote, it suggests that Trump may have overcharged, or Trump interests may have overcharged the government $1.3 billion when he was president. I think that is bullshit.
What? Who charged what?
They're trying to say, there was a story I was reading in my time, which is, approximately 12 hours ahead of yours, was that there's some report that's come out on how much money the government sent to Trump-owned entities while he was president. And they're trying to allege that they overcharged the government a lot of money. Huh. And this is an analysis done by innumerate idiots, and it's been debunked. It's not the first time this has come up. This is not true, I don't think. But nonetheless, it's the latest canard. And what they're going to do here, I think, is they're going to probably, when the momentum seems to be building even more for Trump, they're going to probably float the idea of there's a new superseding indictment that's coming, and maybe multiple superseding indictments. But all of this, I'm telling you, I mean, the reaction, I believe, is something these people don't get because they're brain dead. People remember the Trump years pre-COVID, and they're living the nightmare that is Bidenomics, idiotnomics. I mean, the guy is a gaffe machine. He's a criminal gaffe machine who has most people who, when Jerry Lewis in the movies would fall down, comedians with Red Skelton, the old school guys, they could laugh at themselves. Biden can't laugh at himself. He needs to laugh at himself because he's a fucking moron. And every single thing this guy does turns to shit. Everything. And people understand that. You could say what you want about Trump. Maybe he made some mistakes. All right. Maybe he made a lot of mistakes. But he gets shit done. Biden just creates more shit and throws it at you like a gorilla. I mean, he is, and the ordinary person gets this. That's why his polling is crap. And that's why the Democrats are going to pull another fast one, I think. Come May or thereabouts, they're going to try to just put somebody like Michelle Obama or some other person they can control in, and just celebrate him across Rachel Madcow and the Sunday shows and the cover of the New York Times, et cetera. They'll just celebrate this fantastic thing that we've got, who knows what new person with what sort of profile is going to be installed and lead us to greatness, because this person flunked out, barely passed some cow college, plagiarizing the work of somebody else, and is promising everybody marshmallows and ice cream for life.
Now, hang on a second, Charles, because we've got less than a minute before we make our way over to the sponsor-exclusive segment in the First Amendment Forum. People are going to be able to join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsource the truth. crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Mark Zuckerberg is rocking a 1970s style haircut as he gets yelled at by Congress, and they made him stand up and apologize to everybody. Ted Cruz was just asking him why, I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook, but there's some child pornography thing, and it says oh, this picture has child porn. Do you want to see it anyway? And Ted Cruz is asking him about that. Made Mark Zuckerberg stand up and turn around and apologize to everybody. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but we'll talk about that. There's somebody else, the DEI person at Harvard now has 40 plagiarism things. So we got a lot to talk about. I hope that people will join us right now in the sponsor exclusive First Amendment Forum. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thanks to everybody who sponsors the show and makes it